other things, I'll be an awful clutcher. I spill things from stone too quickly. I'm far too loud. I'm quite frantic, I think, when I'm on tour. I'm quite like, oh God, I'm always stressed. Like, I'm never ready on time, and I'm always like, oh God. But it's like, I can't be ready too early because it's almost like that feeling gets me in the right adrenaline, you know? Because if I'm like ready for 2 hours before a show, I'm always like, oh my God, what do I do now? I feel so weird. I'm getting little shocks on this mic. Sometimes I wish. When I was like a really little kid, my parents always played us the Beatles, so that was like the first taste of pop music they ever got, which was really good. And I also remember this like song by Nilsson that was like, I never remember the title, but the one that's like, I can't live if living is without you. I love that. And then I like got into Destiny's Child and Ashanti, and like, then I got into like the UK garage scene, which is not like the same as garage rock in the US. It's like, garage music was like this sort of electronic dance music that was made really cheaply by kids in their homes. And the music's really hit and miss. Like, people probably wouldn't like it, I don't think, if you just introduced them to it, but it's like definitely if you were there at the time, like it really was kind of cool. And then when I was 16, oh wait, we're not going through my whole life story. It was when I was little. Mainly on this record, I was sort of in emotional turmoil, and I needed like a new identity, and I found that in the movie The Fabulous Stains, which is about this girl who like starts a band called The Fabulous Stains, and she's really empowered and really badass and cool, and she has like hair like this basically with the 2 blonde streaks, and I was like, I'm just gonna try and be her to get through this situation. So like once I'd sort of picked her as my role model, it became a little bit easier to like go through what I was doing. I think I've been like more honest than ever on this record, and it's also like still quite raw for me, so it can be like hard to perform it. And I think like what is hard about it is like addressing it, and writing the song is really good, but then it's like, do you really want to address it every night on the road? Do you know what I mean? Like, that can be quite painful because you really do want to start letting go eventually. But sometimes I'm fine with it, and sometimes the songs like take on new meanings anyway. I like to break the mold. I like to sort of go, you know, you don't have to be like a perfect pop princess to make pop music. I mean, there's pressure on all of us to be certain things. It would probably help my career if I adhered to them, but I don't really want to do that. I think it's more interesting to be like myself, because no one else is myself. And that's what I'd encourage anyone else to be as well. I just get sick of like the same stereotypical images that are thrust at you, especially as women. And I remember being younger and having role models and then feeling like, oh, they like became like this molded thing that I would never be able to achieve, and I felt really bummed out because I was like, oh, like I'm not good enough or something. So I never want like my fans to feel like that. I always want them to feel like I'm just a normal girl basically, and they could totally relate to me and be like me and do what I'm doing. And she said, yeah, I'm never ever 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 ever. Yeah, I'm never ever 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 ever. I'm never ever 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 ever. Can I unglue my lips from being together? She said, I'm never ever 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 ever.